Hello viewers and welcome to a bit more WRC Generations. And so here we are then having a look at controller gameplay. Now controller gameplay was something that was highlighted in a number of the comments, and I plan to showcase as much of the game and answer as many of your comments and concerns as possible between now and launch. So controller gameplay, the comments highlighted that the controller gameplay was better in WRC 9 than WRC 10. And I confess I didn't play much WRC 10 with the controller, so I thought let's sit down, again test out a few different cars, different locations, different track surfaces, and find out how it comes together. Starting off with the classic cars, then later in this video I'll move up to the WRC, and in the upcoming videos I'll be looking at the WRC Junior, WRC 2, and of course more of those surface textures as well. Make sure there's decent handling across all areas. So first impressions then, I started off with Sega Rally vibes, Toyota Celica around the shakedown stage at Monte Carlo, and I was finding it great. You know, it took a bit of adjustment initially, did some practicing, got into the vibe of the handling and how it was feeling, and eventually I was forgetting I was using a controller. I was just enjoying the racing action and able to match my times with a wheel there or thereabouts. I use a wheel all the time, so it was important for me to really say, right, I watch my ghost and try and keep up with that ghost where possible, and if my ghost was beating me, let's see if we can cut off more and more time and go from there. Now this is the same one you just saw from behind the car. I know a lot of you that play with a controller also play from behind the car, so I wanted to show you guys that view as well. And there we are then racing around, missing the odd apex there, but getting on the power swiftly, and the car moving nicely on this downhill section. It's a little bit tricky when you're going downhill, your braking points are just marginally longer, the car slides, the weight is there, but it all works so well, so fluidly. That's working well for me. Now I'm not using manual gears on the controller. No, this is just for fun for me. I'll use manual on my wheel, but on my controller I'm just using automatic gears for now. Main thing for me is just to drive the car using my Revolution controller there, and it all works really well. So handling is intuitive, it feels good, acceleration was feeling good, the car wasn't oversteering or too pointy. The different types of snow and texture under the car were working well, and I was able to put the car right where I wanted it to go. And this sweeping section really shows that, getting it just right, eye the needle through the corner, no problemo. Very much enjoyed these runs. So just good fun when you're just playing a game and it's good fun and you're enjoying the driving. I realised, wow, that's great news. It makes my job a lot easier. So that was a quick shakedown to start off with Toyota Celica. Now we're going to go to the Peugeot 206 Marcus Gronholm. This is a pre-order car, but it's a car I wanted to test, and so I thought let's go to Estonia now. It's a different surface. You've got a bit of tarmac, you've got a bit of dirt, you've got a bit of mud. Let's see how the cars handle here. So as we prepare for the line on this one, we'll be taking a look at this car and then moving to all three of the modern day WRC cars. I wanted to see a little comparison with them in terms of performance. They're all very evenly matched this year. There are nuances in the cars, but it's hard to pin them down as it was in previous versions. I always felt that the Toyota was a bit more slidey. I struggled to get times out of the Ford, which is a lot more competitive this time, and I generally use the Hyundai. But anyway, away from the line, I'm using the cockpit cam here, as you can see. So I'm showing that I use the cockpit cam or the forward dash cam to drive from, even when I'm using the pad, just because I like to be in the car and connected to it. Getting rugged now, really pushing the car over these various different jumps, sliding in, and again I was saying earlier about just forgetting I'm using a controller. It felt very fluid for me through these sections. Brake in there, get the car sliding around here best you can. It's working well. And again, these jumps are quite tricky. You want to be tight to the apex on the inside on the right there, and I wasn't, so just got a wheel. You don't want to do that. It's a bit tricky through this section, but we managed it there. Kept control of the car. That's good. that shows weight transfer getting a bit strung out. Now on an earlier build of the game, a version that you will have seen on a few weeks ago, the 1 hour play, I'd probably have fallen off the track at that point, but there's handling changes being made to refine the weight, which is altering all the time. So we'll be able to look at the handling and analyse it further. It's one of those things where people say to me, what does it handle like on an early build? And you say, well, I can't really say, because though you have opinions on it where it is, they're changing it all the time. And so there's lots of small things that have been tweaked and improved from the earlier build, which is making the game more and more playable. And in my eyes, that means more and more people will enjoy the intuitive behaviour of the car, getting it just right in terms of weight and traction. So this is a tricky section for all the cars. It's a bit muddy, the traction isn't great, the braking distances are a bit longer, you've got to go very slow through these corners. Try to go fast and you'll just fly off the end there, so better to take it slow. These bumps as well, a bit off camber, and braking nice and early, trying to sweep the car in. That's all right, didn't quite get the car exactly where I wanted it, but we got through it. And then these corners as well, very off camber through here, lumps and bumps, unsettles the car. This corner goes a little bit further than you expect, and flat through here, and then try to carry as much speed through this next corner as you dare. There's lots of speed to find. It was stepping out a little bit there, so I had to reel it in a bit, unfortunately, and we lost time through that corner. But get in here early, and that gives you a really nice exit as well. That's it. Bit of a blind couple of corners. Now the transition to tarmac, and as we transition to the tarmac, obviously you have the oversteer, so you're not needing to brake as heavily, coming off the gas, gently on the power. The car in, not hitting that curb too hard. You can really unsettle the car when you're on some of these curbs. They're quite high up. Working well through this section. So the car is very balanced. It's got a very neutral feel to it, very even power delivery. Feels very intuitive on every texture. I felt like I could run this again and again and again and get more out of the car. I haven't tried it with the wheel yet, so I'm just playing with the pad for a few days. I find, once you get your eye in on the pad, it's better to do as much pad stuff as possible before I get back onto the wheel and then really start analysing the handling. And of course we'll be looking at the console versions in a few weeks as well. So I'll be doing more questions, your comments, chats on upcoming videos, and going through those questions and concerns. Some of you are liking the videos and looking forward to the game. Some people not so keen. So we're going to talk about all of those concerns as well. This is a tricky section. I do like the graphics in this section. I like these winding roads through the hills. I'm going to keep mentioning that because I do. A bit of understeer on that hill, sort of tricky. This last section of the course, I find it's the most tricky section. It really is. Getting the car into the corners, you want to carry more speed. Your tyres are wearing a bit. There's not much grip, and it's all about the momentum you're carrying through the corners. Either way, floor it through here, lumps, bumps, unsettling the car, and then there's a corner here just to the left. Swing it in there. It's a harsher corner than it looks. And now with one harder corner to come, number 4 to the left. Round there, swing it round, bit too much power, controlling the weight to the rear, that's fine. Now flat to the finish, and that section's done. So that was good fun. Really enjoyed running that course with that car. Lovely. Leaderboards aren't up at the moment, obviously. They've all got to be wiped, I assume, before the game is actually released now. So even though I was top of all the leaderboards with nobody else on there, it was good to see it all working, and as well as all the cross-play, because a lot of you guys are going to be looking forward to the various cross-play elements. A bit of music coming in occasionally for no reason other than to jazz it up a little bit. Now we're looking at, again, we've got the replay here behind the car, and a replay camera as well, and you can see how I'm throwing the car around with the controller. So any concerns you guys have on that, for me, feels great. Feels great with the controller so far, and I'm very pleased. I'm very relieved actually, because when you pick up the control pad, you think, here we go, is this going to be really, really hard? But in actual fact, it is much better than 10 over the bumps and stuff like that. There are a few courses where lumps and bumps with the wheel are tricky, but the lumps and bumps here were natural, predictable, and I felt I could get more out of the car. I felt like even sliding it through some of these corners, more down to me being a little bit tentative at times. Not very tentative. I'm driving as well as I kind of know how with these conditions and this car. I mean, it's just practice basically, lots and lots and lots of practice, and you get quicker and quicker. There are some sections like this one where it feels quite slow, and you want to go faster, you know. And I'm trying to go as fast as I can, but the car just, all it does is understeer once you put more power through it. It just doesn't have any real traction. Wallows around on this surface, these tyres. I don't like this at all. And as soon as you're back onto the powdery dust, it works very well. So getting into that tricky hairpin. This is what I was just saying earlier about slowing down for that one. Car nicely through there, of course. And again, we got a bit wide, don't we, on this next corner coming up. Let's take a look at this. Look at it going wide. We're braking in okay. Perhaps a bit of oversteer on entry. I tried to correct, and not too bad actually. Not too bad. We got through that okay. And a bit of a lift there. So the car got unbalanced, wobbled around a bit, had to lift, lost time. And probably slowed down a bit too much on that corner. Could have carried a bit more speed. And again, we get the back end stepping out. So we're losing time all over the place, but we're enjoying it. So I'm being rugged. I'm pushing. It's one thing about rally. If you're not being aggressive with the car, you're not really getting much out of it. You need to be aggressive with the cars. At the same time, with the modern rally cars, you've got to be very careful now, as I say, with the power delivery and the hybrid system, because it does have that surge of power, turbo power. This is nice. It feels like, the physics are good enough for Nakon to do their own rally cross. So the way this is feeling, it's feeling great. So physics are all working really well here over the different surfaces. And again into this back section of the course. This is one of those corners here, this right-hander, that I find tricky. The tyres are there. You want to turn in, get it just right, but it's a strange angle to sweep in. You kind of want to go a bit deeper into it than I went. I keep turning in too early to that corner, and you do need to find just a little bit more room for your car. This whole section, look at it, the way the road winds off into the distance. I love that. It's proper rally to me. Driving through the open countryside. I wish there was more miles of road like this, just mile upon mile of tricky road. Really nice countryside. You can go and have a picnic there, couldn't you? Find a nice country pub. Lovely. Smell the fresh air of the Estonian countryside. Lovely. So, a few more corners to go. Not quite getting that right, but we're okay. I used to drive this car, I think, in the old Sony WRC titles years ago, which I'm going to look at on a video. I used to enjoy driving it back then, so that's why it's nice to rediscover this car and discover that it's rugged, and it is a fun car to throw into these corners. And it changed my perception on how to drive some of the cars as well, and how rugged I could be in some cases in sliding the car through these courses. So that was good training. Start off with the slower cars before you progress to the faster cars, always in WRC. I'm finding the classic cars and the WRC2 cars in the main are the most fun to be able to throw the car around. The top class that we're in now, the hybrids, are they're much faster, but they're also very tricky to drive. There's a lot of power. You're controlling the power delivery all through the section, and then as soon as you're getting the car into a balanced slide, you're progressive on the power, controlling it through the corner. There's more than enough power to control the car through these various different bends. The power delivery in all these videos generally is set as a default to map 2. You change the map before you start the stage. Having just had a short mess around with it, I've not had the use of 3 at this point, but I have used map 1 and found there's a really nice even power delivery on map 1, but you do run out of the charge very quickly. So if you have long straights, that charge will go pretty quick. But if you have stages where there's lots of short pumping the power, getting on the power, various hairpins here and there, it works very well. And I think for me, I think if I can be quick during the twisty bits, maybe I'm a bit slower on the straights, but sometimes that doesn't matter so much, because even on the straight sections, occasionally you're lifting if there are concerns, lumps and bumps that you're a bit concerned of, or if you're even protecting your tyres and suspension, because if you're taking some of the jumps at full speed and landing quite hard, you are giving suspension a bit of a pounding, especially when running epic stages, of which there's lots of epic driving to do. These sessions running on the controller were quite long, so I recorded a bunch of videos and the recordings didn't work properly over these past few days, and I've gone back and had to re-record it all. And it's a good thing, because it's made me better and better with the controller all round, and now I'm able to drive pretty well with it. And I look forward to hopefully driving this on a stream as well, so that you guys can see a bit of control pad driving on a live stream, as well as the wheel, because I know obviously the vast percentage of you out there, even though all driving games are better with a wheel in the main, apart from Forza, it adds so much having a wheel. I mean, on WRC, so much you get from using a wheel on here and just controlling the throttle with the pedals. It's an involving experience, but it's also exhausting. That's another thing as well, actually. It's a lot less tiring using a controller. You can just sit there, relax and play the game. With the wheel, it's very... and you see there, a little bit of traction caught me out there, combined with the body roll. It just shows the grip. It was my first time with... Obviously, I've moved from the Peugeot to the modern WRC car, which is much faster, and it just caught me out. Whereas the classic cars, you can really throw them a bit more. These cars are more precise, the driving style is more precise, and the progression on the power, it's going a bit wide. What it is, I know what went through my mind. I was a bit frustrated. I hit the wall. That frustrates me, because I hate showing some of the mistakes when I'm learning on some of these games on videos, but it's got to be done. It's got to be done. I know that, because it's important for you guys to see that you're making mistakes here and there, and then you got to calm the mind through this section, because it's very easy to lose it. You see, I just lost it there on the rear. I was trying to get back the time I'd already lost to make it comparable for all 3 rally cars. But time was against me when making this particular video, so I just had to crack on with the stage. It's how it is in rally. You've just got to get on with it, try to find more speed, bumping around. The Hyundai was always my car of choice on WRC over the years. It had a nice balanced, stable traction. Compared to the Toyota I was mentioning earlier, which was a bit more slidey, and the Ford, which for me was all over the place. I could never really drive the Ford and get good times out of it. That's all changed now. I'm struggling to decide which of the 3 cars works for me, and I haven't managed to figure that out yet. So that's the Hyundai over the line. Again, I think we see a time 4:47 for that. So that was okay, but we're going to move on to Toyota now and see if we can improve upon that. Notice we had a couple of mistakes in the Hyundai there, though. Very important to remember. A couple of mistakes. Probably lost about 3 seconds or so just with those mistakes. So maybe 4 seconds. So now Toyota then. So now we really want to go for it now. Change the time of day. into dawn. There's a lovely glow, isn't there? Again, you can smell that nice country air. There's that fresh feeling in the morning. It's a bit chilly, but it feels just nice. It's going to be a lovely day. Lovely day. I haven't investigated all of the weather conditions yet. We will do that on a future video. As I say, there's a lot to do on this game, and there's a lot of things to investigate. And these videos take ages to make for various different reasons. So why? Because I like to do lots of testing and, like I say, get answers to a lot of your questions where possible. So more aggressive through that section this time, really going for it in the Toyota. Long sweeping corners on the power, capturing it well, smooth through that section. So it's working well on the jumps, it's working well on the various different drifting. So we get on this muddy section, dark through here with the trees, but we know the course, so we're okay, we know what we're doing. Working well, getting the car into those corners, rear sliding, again just braking nice and tight on the inside. Visibility a little low here, I haven't turned my headlights on at this stage, but that's okay. And coming through this section. So we've learned it every time. We know where the tricky corners are. There are tricky corners. That corner we've just passed actually is a tricky corner. You've got to brake way earlier, and this one as well. Way earlier than you expect on this surface. The car doesn't like to slow down. So I'm taking it very easy. More time to gain, more time to lose than there is to gain on these corners. Around that hairpin, getting understeer through there, so not ideal. Working well. Again, tricky corner, sliding it through there nicely. Aggressive on the throttle, that's working well. Let's see if we can carry speed through here. Good through that corner, good traction, driving through the corner rather than sliding there, it's working well. And then because we carried the extra speed, hit the brakes at my normal point and it didn't work. So I wasn't responding well enough to the high speed I took through the corner. I'd never been through that corner that quickly, it turns out. Now I remember my mistake there before in terms of feeling the extra power on the tarmac. So again, just a bit of oversteer. I was slightly off where I wanted to be going into that corner. Brakes quite late. Took a bit of dirt on the outside wheel going round. That made the car slide nicely through the corner. So hitting that little bit of dirt really helped slide the car through. Again, using all the road. I do find that the dirt just helps with a little bit of traction loss, which kind of helps a little bit of drifting. Tight through there. Still using all the road. Getting the car in nicely through that section. So we're definitely ahead. And now into the back end of the course. Remember we made a mistake here before. Committed and flat. It's a stressful section. Unstable on the car through there. Taking it easy. Again here, a lot of crown of the road really throws you off either side. So you've got to make sure you swing the car into the right point. It's unsettled all through this section. Again, this corner here, I take it a little bit slower because I'm preparing for this next section. Drifting through nicely. Looks easy, that corner. It's not. You can find yourself falling off very easily and hitting the barrier on the outside, as I have done many times. Last part of the course, throw the car in through there. Wasn't fast enough through there. I was too cautious. Again, very cautious through that section. The car going wide. Disaster. So losing time now. Right near the end of the course. But it's okay. With a few corners, go step on it. Give it everything you've got. Full beans. Make up for that mistake. That was a close one. And sweeping round. Oh, I'm not carrying the speed I'd like, sadly. So we were doing so well. That final few corners just totaled us. I can't quite see the time, but I'll have a look. 4:43. So I think that with the Hyundai not having that mistake would have been pretty similar to the Toyota. The Toyota had a mistake as well. So those two cars, I reckon if you maximise the Hyundai and the Toyota, they're pretty much neck and neck. So it's all down to the Ford with its great new paint job. Craig Breen at the wheel. What can Craig do? I've been in a rally car with Craig Breen, and he's a man who knows how to drive. Brutal driving, brutal, and it's great. You know, he's had a bit of bad luck, didn't he, recently? Things need to go his way, but he's certainly not lacking in speed and commitment. And there is a rally, you can have good phases and bad phases, and you have to keep your head and keep your focus on what you're able to achieve. Know that you've got it in you to do that. Racing the best drivers in the world is tough, and some drivers have that little spark of magic that is a mystery to everybody. But either way, we're with the Ford. I've given it everything through that first sector, I might add. I was just pushing as hard as I could. I touched the puddle, damn. That slowed me down a bit. Well, not the end of the world, but slowed the car down into that braking zone a bit more than I wanted. Throwing the car through the lumps and bumps. Let's keep the Ford competitive. Oh, struggling on the traction through this section, through the forest, over the mud. Wheel hooks on the inside. Sweeping through these corners, carrying as much speed as I dare. Having to push the Ford more than the other cars. The other cars were more smooth and flowing. The Ford, you need to be a bit more aggressive on the power. Racing in the evening conditions here. So the lighting has changed. Oh! And we were doing okay, but just a bit of time, bit of over-rotation in the car. And touching the puddle again. So a couple of little mistakes just creeping in. That car got caught out on the bumps. Losing time. So we have to recapture ourselves now. Relax and recapture that focus. Rally's about rhythm. Get back into that rhythm. So we can still make the time back. We can still maximise it with a Ford flat through here. Carry as much speed through this next corner again. We did well with the Toyota before. We've thrown it in there. Full beans. But remember to brake earlier. We made the mistake before. Let's not do it this time. That's better. Braking nice and early. Getting the car in. Clawing the time back at this stage. Now onto the tarmac section. Swinging the car. Not using the brakes so much, but using the deceleration of the car alone. And then gentle acceleration through the corner. Accounting for that change in traction. To oversteer too much. Perfect through that corner, carrying more speed than we ever have before through here. Braking down. Oh, the car's unstable under braking. We didn't hit the dirt on the way in, which helped slide the Toyota. A bit tricky through here now. Tentative on the power. Bit slower this time. Car was unsteady, unsettled, but sweeping through tighter to the apex on this final section. Can we carry much speed? The car's moving around, still using all the track, sweeping it through that corner. The later entry worked well with the tighter exit. Now it's down to the final sector. The Ford is ahead at this stage, so we'll see if we can keep it together. A bit slow through there. The car was unsteady on the lumps and bumps. Trying to control the power through here as well. So again, getting it in the inside of that crown of the road. Very unsettling. Carrying a bit more speed through this section. Looking into the distance. Driving towards that line I'm looking at. And the music comes in now. We've got a bit of music for the last part of the video, why not? Going wide, mistakes. The car didn't drift round the 5 corner. Frustration coming in. Can we do it? My hands are tensing up now. The hands are tensing. Well, we know we're on a better time. You always know that when you're on a better lap time or a better stage time. And those final few corners are the most difficult corners to do. Oh no, and we've gone over another bump and it's falling apart in these last few corners. Either way, we're keeping some momentum, but we're just going to keep throwing the car. Getting this 4 through there. Oh, back end standing out way too much. But either way, stamp on the power. Let's see where we end up. Going across the line with the Ford. Down that final straight and over the line. And I didn't have the time. I'm going to come back on the time. I'm going to come back on the time and I'm going to put it on this section of the video. So you will see the time at home, even though I don't see the time as I commentate this because I don't have it on the screen. But I think the Ford just about did it. Anyway, The Ford, I think the Ford did just about do it, and then I put a comparison together between the Ford and the Toyota because they were close, neck and neck, different conditions, but again, direct controller comparison action, and we can see the different behaviour of the two cars. The way the Toyota in the main is a lot more settled, the Ford needs to be a lot more aggressive in terms of its driving style to get the most out of it, but working well with both cars, both different handling but at the same time very similar in terms of the times that you're able to garner out of them. The undulation of these tracks, the nice glow of the lighting. You could see the water splash, how it the Ford lost time in that section, but they're still very close, aren't they? Amazingly close between the two cars. And just holding it together. Both cars really struggling through that section. Ford swinging a bit more weight through the corners. Toyota is marginally ahead at this stage. And getting into this hairpin where we know the Ford was slow through here. Toyota's into it, Ford follows. Toyota took it well, but the Ford lost time, so it was way behind at this stage. Can it close up due to that little mistake at the end? And again, another mistake coming for the Ford here, way behind at this stage. Way behind. I don't know the time. I don't know the time as I commentate this, but you guys will know. I'll put it on the screen so you guys can see. But either way, and the Ford Club. Maybe I'll put it on the end. I'll put it on the end, and then that way we'll see at the end of the video. I'll put it up. Put up the times. And so now the Toyota is well ahead at this stage, but we know the Toyota is going to make a mistake imminently into the wall, and time lost there. Look at the time lost. So the Ford has closed up a lot in that section, kept good momentum. Still about 3 seconds behind at this stage though. It's hard to gain through this section. There's more time to lose than to gain. Being smooth is all important through here. So the smoothness of the Toyota is working for me. There's a performance there that really comes together well. Through this section, the Toyota was just working so well on the combination of the tarmac. A lot more body roll in the Ford, making it tricky. Towards the end of this section, and Ford felt quicker through there. So we're amazingly driving, as I say, different cars, different times of day. They're still there neck and neck pretty much. The Toyota's just ahead at this stage. Can the Ford close up? Can it find more speed through this section? It looks to be quicker in the main. I'm being more aggressive with it. I'm trying to find more speed. The Toyota's still just a corner ahead now. It's pulling out. Latter part of the course, we see the mistake coming up now from the Ford as well. Just what we didn't need for that section, it going off. That's probably going to be costly. Aggressive on the bumps, just trying to get on the stamping on the power, trying to find some more speed. And this is where the Toyota goes off and loses time, it loses momentum. It's close between the two cars. Unbelievable how close it is between them, but it looks like the Toyota will take the prize and come home in first place. So there we are, the Toyota looks like it's done it. I'll put the times on the screen now. That's been WRC Legends, and there'll be more from me very soon.